And Minnesota Senator and former presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar joins me now. Senator, thank you very much for being with us. Well, this is a bit of a mess, Andrea, with people, millions of people without unemployment, the supplemental unemployment comp, not getting the eviction relief that the president advertised at all, because that's not what it says. Well, you're a lawyer. Tell me about the legality of it first.
Okay, I just keep thinking of that image of these people at his golf course, at his resort. That's not what most Americans are doing right now. They're struggling to get by. Some of them are out of work. They need real unemployment benefits. They need, for those that are working, they need help with child care. They want to figure out their school year. And he just walks away, is down golfing, instead of negotiating with Senator Schumer and Representative Pelosi. And this idea that they weren't negotiating, they went from $3.6 trillion, this has been reported, and I talked to Senator Schumer about this last night myself, down to $2 trillion. It's the White House that isn't moving, and then they play this gimmick, which, by the way, yes, unconstitutional, as Ben Sasse has pointed out, but also think about the payroll tax change. Both parties, people didn't like this idea. Why? It's putting the burden on the backs of seniors. It's a fake because they're going to collect the checks next year anyway, the payroll taxes. So let's get real. This is not a time for a Band-Aid solution, not when you have projected 33% reduction in GDP. Our head of our Federal Reserve doesn't think that. President Trump himself has said it's going to get worse before it gets better. It is time for real action, and that's why he needs to go back to the negotiating table.
I wanted to ask you about something that's definitely not in so far. Is any relief for the money that is needed to have a reliable mail-in election? And in addition, on Friday night, there was another Friday night massacre with the new head of the Postal Service, a Trump donor who has no experience, getting rid of all of the experienced people and bringing in his own people. What are your concerns about a fair election and about this not being in the relief package?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things not with what he's done with the gimmick, you know. There's no money for testing. There's no money for elections. And you're right, there's no money for the Postal Service. And you add to that the games that this guy is playing. So the latest thing, Andrea, I'm actually leading a group of senators on this today. The latest thing is that they've announced for the first time in a long time that you can't use a nonprofit rate for ballots. That ups the price for ballots. It decreases the time that they will be delivered, and it just makes things much, much harder for the states right in the middle of a pandemic. So one of the things that is part of the negotiations right now, which I hope will continue if Donald Trump allows them to, one of the things should be about putting in place provisions that this guy cannot mess with people's, not only their ballots, but also their prescription drugs and other things that are being delivered in the middle of this pandemic. It's game playing, but it's putting just not our democracy at risk. It actually is putting people's lives at risk, since so many more people are getting their medications delivered by mail.
I want to also ask you, of course, about Joe Biden, very close to a decision, if not an announcement coming any day now, on who's going to be his running mate. Now, first of all, there's a coalition of women's groups who are warning people to protect this nominee from the sexist and potentially racist, if it is a black woman, kind of criticisms that we've already seen, the stereotyping that have affected women candidates. Your view on that?
Well, we've all experienced this. I think I was the one on the debate stage that at some point said if there hadn't been a different standard for women in politics, we could play a game called Name Your Favorite Woman President, or for that matter, vice president. But we can't play that game because there hasn't been one. And so part of this is just people's expectations, the discrimination, the stuff that's out there on the internet, the attacks that we've seen. So that's what they are doing. They're anticipating this, and I think it's a good idea. And by the way, if women weren't ambitious, then Andrea Mitchell, you and I wouldn't be doing this show right now. And I think we need more of that and not less of it. So my answer to this is he's going to pick a great running mate. He's got a great group to pick from. And
all of my women producers, women bosses, and women colleagues as well. Let me ask you also about whether this is the time, as you yourself said, let me play this for you, the time for a black running mate. Let me watch what let's watch what you said on the day that you took yourself out of the race.
This is a historic moment, and America must seize on this moment. And I truly believe, as I actually told the Vice President last night when I called him, that I think this is a moment to put a woman of color on that ticket.
So you told that to Lawrence O'Donnell when you announced your decision. Is it still true now? And if so, do you think there'll be backlash if one of the white contenders is chosen?
Whoever Joe Biden chooses, he's going to make a good decision because they're all qualified, every single one of them. I still believe what I said to him that night and what I said to Lawrence the next day, and that is that this is a historic moment. We've seen people of color hurt at epic numbers from this pandemic. There have been overwhelmingly the ones percentage-wise dying, the ones on the front line. We've seen the anger over the murder of George Floyd in my state. This is a moment like no other. And that's my suggestion, but I will strongly support whoever he picks because they are such a great group of women. And I hope that isn't lost in all of the, fun you guys have on your show. Who's this? Who's getting attacked? Come on now. This will be a moment. I remember when one woman was picked, Geraldine Ferraro. I remember it because I thought when that happened in my state, I still remember what she was wearing. I thought anything and everything is possible. Well, this is many, many years later. And this is an election like no other. And we have a group of candidates who have led, who will be strong, who will bring that kind of compassion and competence to the ticket that will complement Joe Biden's compassion and competence. So I'm very excited about whoever he picks and ready to go and help.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.